Hi there. My name is Lucas Weiss, and I am the host of the Weesesports Quarantine Chronicles. For today's episode, I'm interviewing Haili Moyer. Haili is a former professional ice dancer before making the full transition to becoming a professional snowboarder. With sports in hiatus, Haili is busy managing her website, MoyerFitness.com, where she offers fitness and nutritional guidance. I discuss with Haili her transition to becoming a snowboarder, the mental preparedness before a race, as well as how she is keeping busy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel in the bottom right-hand corner. This is episode 4 of the Weesports Quarantine Chronicles. Let's flash back to your 7th birthday in Stowe, Vermont, and how that experience helped influence your love for snowboarding and winter sports.
Man, a snowboard was all I wanted for my birthday that year. So that was a huge gift from my parents to be able to gift that to me. And I spent the entire next week just working my way up through their snow school levels and excelling at it, surprisingly. So yeah, I was hooked from day one.
Did you have any favorite snowboarders growing up that you looked up to?
Shaun White was definitely the biggest guy back then and just so cool. So watching him was pretty incredible.
Yeah, Shaun White, I mean, even I'm not a big snowboarding fan, but even I know Shaun White, and like what he does on the half pipe is just off the charts. But interesting though, Haili, that you then went into doing a lot of ice dancing. Just describe how you got involved in a sport that completely contrasts snowboarding.
This is my number one biggest question people ask me: how did you go from figure skating to snowboarding? It doesn't make any sense. My simplest answer is I have very Canadian parents. It was mandatory. You had to learn how to skate because my dad always played hockey, and I had to learn how to ski or snowboard because my mom loves skiing. So growing up, those were the two most dominant sports in my family. But I had a huge love for both of them. So I tried to take it as far as I could.
What's the preparation like for ice dancing? Because it's such a beautiful, artistic, exquisite sport, but so many skills are involved in order to be competing at that high level, which you were.
For sure. It takes a lot of precision and practice, just pure repetition, to be at such a high level for that one. Even I go skating now and I'm nowhere near the skill level that I used to be, just because you were doing it day in, day out, 4 hours a day, constantly training, cross training. There was a lot of preparation that went into it, but it also felt really comfortable to have that much preparation. I always knew what I was doing, what I was going there to do. So I never actually got nervous at competitions because of that.
And how much does the song go into ice dancing? Because it's, like I said, it's all about the show that you and your partner put on, but the song really helps accelerate that skill.
For sure it does. Choosing your music every year was one of the biggest decisions you could make. So you really had to find something that would move you and that would help you express yourself in a large way so that the audience would also understand the story that you're trying to tell.
What was your favorite song that you picked for one of your competitions?
My favorite song, I've always loved the tango. I know recently they have started to change it and you're allowed to use words now and more pop songs as they're trying to bring it more into relevant times. But when I was ice dancing, it was very classical music still. So I would just kind of pick my tango music and go off with that.
And how many years, Haili, were you involved competitively in ice dancing, and when did you make the switch to snowboarding?
So I grew up skating and competing by myself. And then I realized that I really had a passion for dancing as the one element of it. And so I found a partner, and we were together for 4 years, competing in ice dance. And that was the highest level that I got to in figure skating, was a junior ice dancer for Canada. So I did it for 4 years until I was about 16, I believe. We split up, and I wasn't able to find another partner, which is why I ended up ending my skating career.
Mm. And then you go back to the 7-year-old that you were pursuing that snowboarding passion full time.
Exactly. I just was not ready to give up sports, and snowboarding had kind of been put on the back burner because I went so far in skating, but I'd always had that little itch to get into it. So when the opportunity came, it wasn't just, oh, your career's over. It was one door closes, the other one opens, and I went for it.
Do you regret pursuing snowboarding full time, or do you embrace the fact that you had a sampling of sports like ice dancing and then the snowboarding?
No, I am so happy with the way that things worked out. I think having the ice dance was a really good mental preparation for snowboarding as well, just because I had been taught all of the mental skills that you need for any high-end sport, and the dedication that it takes too, right? Like going up through high school, it's very difficult for a lot of people. You want to go to parties and meet new friends, and because of skating, it was, no, this is what you're doing, this is how you're going to get there, so this is what you have to do, which has definitely helped a lot.
And in your snowboarding career, you've had the chance to travel all over the world. Like, anyone who follows you on social media saw, like, you were in Austria, you were in Argentina, like just a complete globetrotter doing the snowboarding. Like, what is that like, just being able to not only compete, but embrace and get to experience new cultures?
I would say it's hands down the coolest part about my job as a snowboarder is the fact that I do get to travel to all these crazy countries and get to know the people there and the culture. And, you know, without snowboarding, there's a good chance I wouldn't be able to go to a lot of these places. So it's been an absolute blessing that way, and I love it. I've definitely expanded on my languages. I'm not fluent by any means, but I always like to learn a couple words, especially please and thank you, no matter where I'm going. So it's been really amazing that way.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I'm just English and then un petit peu in terms of French, but glad to see that you're expanding your language horizon with all the traveling. But for those of you who don't watch snowboard cross regularly, what is that like pre-race mindset that you're in? Because snowboard cross is just the ultimate energy rush from a viewer watching, but I can't imagine you as an athlete competing in that type of race.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the biggest rush, hands down. You know, in figure skating, I could practice day in, day out, my exact program, and that's what I was going to perform. But you go to a snowboard cross competition, it's different every single time in every possible way. So you have to really be able to change and adapt to the new circumstances. But when I'm in the race, you have to think that you are going to be number one down that course. So you get in the gate and you don't care who's beside you. You just have to think. I think only about the first feature because I like to take things just one thing at a time. So I'm just purely focused on my pull, that first feature, and I just don't care about anyone else out there. I just have to go as fast as I can.
And do the courses vary in terms of difficulty, or are they relatively similarly set up as to what an Olympic Games would be?
If you had the chance to watch the most recent Winter Olympics in Korea. That course I rode it 2 years before at the test event, and that course was hands down the largest snowboard cross course we've ever seen. It was an absolute beast, and no course even still compares to that one. So that was pretty crazy. But as far as generally it goes, it depends on who you are, what you like doing. I prefer a nice long course with jumps, but there's other athletes for sure that excel at shorter ones that are more technical. So it really depends who you are going into it. That it could be the easiest course for me, but for someone else, it's a little bit more difficult.
And Haili, snowboard cross, from my understanding, has only been around at the Olympic level since the 2006 games in Torino.
Correct.
And, you know, just describe the growth that it's experienced here in snowboard Canada. Obviously, it had great success at the Vancouver Games. But the fact that now it's a staple in Olympic sports gives athletes like you an opportunity to compete around the world.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how quickly it grew, and seeing the kids coming up now, because it's been around and it's a sport that you can just do at your local club. Or I know the Country Day School now has their own snowboard cross team, which is so cool. Like, we did not have that growing up. I barely knew what snowboard cross was because it was so new. So kids can definitely get into it a lot younger now, which is amazing to see. So in the next 10 years, I mean, it's going to be insane the amount of growth that's going to happen with it, because people aren't starting at 16, 20, 25 even. They're all starting at, 6 years old now.
Haili, have you, I mean, in your snowboard cross career, what would you say has been your most memorable achievement and why?
My first North American podium was definitely a memorable achievement. It's your first podium. It's a whole big thing. Like, just to make it to big finals is a huge accomplishment, because in snowboard cross, you just never know how things are going to go. There's so many crashes and variables that getting into that top four is an accomplishment in itself. So to then push through and get a podium is insane. And I was so excited. I've never smiled so long in my life.
No, I could only imagine. I mean, I've never sniffed the podium in anything. So, I mean, I can only imagine how that must just feel, just being on the podium and just showing all those years of hard work getting to that point. But for an athlete, though, I mean, you have that podium moment, but then there's so many more competitions after that. How do you stay motivated in that zone and inspired to get back to that point?
I think the motivation to stay there and to achieve that at the next race was definitely there. It was it really lit my fire and made me really want to go get it at the next one. If anything, it was actually just dealing with the pressure that then came with that, right? Like, you have a podium and you suddenly feel like you're expected to get a podium at the next event. And like I said, in snowboard cross, that's actually very difficult to do. So it was more so managing those nerves and knowing that it's okay if you don't get it, but keep that hunger and go and put it all out there, which was really cool because I then qualified first at the next race. So it ended up working out well.
Completely allowing you to conquer those nerves clearly. But it's interesting because you mentioned that about conquering those nerves, and you look at team sports like basketball, hockey, when they have 82 game seasons. It's a long process, but for snowboard cross, it's that's that race and those heats and all that moment and all that preparation is building up to this one moment. So it accelerates that notion of being able to conquer those nerves and being able to handle that pressure even more.
Yeah, it definitely does. having less events in a year. Like we maybe get 5 World Cups in a year. So the pressure's on for sure. You have to perform at those 5 events because there's not 80 more waiting for you.
And Haili, now, I mean, obviously there's so much uncertainty in the world because of COVID-19, and you're currently in Vancouver right now, and you've done a whole social media campaign with your MoyerFitness.com and doing a lot of fitness classes for people to stay active. How has that challenge been for you, and how important has social media been to just help boost not only the morale of the people participating in your fitness classes, but also your morale during such a unprecedented time?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So More Fitness was something I launched this year. I have just always loved being in the gym and I want to stay active the rest of my life. And it helps with snowboarding as a career right now too. The fact that I can just be in the gym and work as well as do my own personal training. So that was a big motivating factor for me. And as far as COVID, it's unfortunate, but the fitness industry is definitely one that's actually excelled during this time. So that's been pretty cool to see the growth in it and what I can offer people. Everyone's interested in all of my online programs and classes now because you can't go anywhere else. So the demand has been increased a lot, and it's been really cool to interact with people and help them with new programs and give them classes, and it keeps me on top of my game too. Like there's definitely been a couple days that you're just trapped in your home and you don't feel good, but I have a class or a client and I'm like, okay, well I have to get up and do this.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, for me, it's sort of doing the Weesports Quarantine Chronicles, right? I mean, it may not be as active as, your fitness classes, but you're still having those reasons to get up in the morning, making sure that, you're, perfecting a skill and, increasing your knowledge. I think that's so important in these times where you're quarantined, you can't go out, and it's just that, it can be very sad at times how much our life has changed. But it sounds like you're still very motivated in not only pursuing your snowboard dream, but also keeping active and keeping other people active.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been really great as far as all that goes for me, and it has been keeping me motivated. I'm motivating others, so I really couldn't ask for much more.
And finally, Haili, what are your goals now as we look ahead into the year and the years ahead for your snowboarding career?
So talking with coaches, obviously we've had weekly meetings about what all of this means for us for the upcoming year. And it really sounds like this year is going to be a big push on just training, not as much results or worrying about traveling too much. We're just going to put a big emphasis on our training and getting ready and making sure we're still doing everything we need to. So at least that uncertainty we don't really have to worry about because they've told us what they're going to expect from the year. But, the Olympics are only 2 years away, which is insane. So I've definitely felt that bit more pressure as they're coming up, and really just trying to push my fitness levels, my training, all of that so that I'm ready and can try and qualify for the next Olympics.
Well, Haili Moyer, thank you so much for joining the Weesports Quarantine Chronicles. She is a professional ice dancer, professional snowboarder, and now runs MoyerFitness.com. Haili, all the best for your future career in snowboarding.
Thank you so much. It was so great to speak with you.